Hey guys, so this video is for those who are planning to build their countertop from scratch, but today we are going to focus solely on a wood surface top. So the reason why we have chosen wood tops for today's video is because it is cheap and it's easy to construct. So I believe most of you will be using this as a countertop material. However, there may be a lot of issues when using wood top as a final finish for your counter. For example, in contact with water, heat, and even chemicals as well. So today, we'll be showing you how to actually apply our metallic epoxy system in order to mitigate these problems. So we have taken the liberty to construct a counter for you that is made of wood, and we'll be showing the layers and the prerequisite works that needs to be done to make this countertop perfect. So right now, we are filling up the holes, crevices, and some of the defects by using our putty fillers. However, you may use a similar product to fill up the defects. So after the putty has dried, you would want to sand down the filled up portions to remove any excess to ensure that the surface is as even and as flat as possible. Do ensure to tape the surrounding of the counter to prevent any accidental contact with the epoxy. So for our first layer, we'll be using our primer sealer layer. As we all know, wood surfaces are very porous and they have micro pores on the surface. So this layer will seal up those pores to prevent any outgassing that may affect the final finish of the epoxy. So before you start to roll out on the rest of the surfaces, do ensure that the corners are applied thoroughly with a brush. To ensure that you have sufficient primer onto the wood surface, a good gauge is to see whether the wood surface is completely covered. So for our next layer, we will be using our self-leveling compound. So the reason why we're using this is because for wood surfaces, they are pretty uneven, and in the long run, they tend to warp. So our self-leveling compound will act like a strengthener to actually strengthen the entire wood surface. Right? So this is recommended for any uneven surfaces as well. In addition to the self-leveling compound, we have added an angle bar at the edges of the counters. So this is to prevent the self-leveling compound from dripping out completely, so we can achieve a more even surface. So as you can see, we are now adding the self-leveling compound to the skirting of the counter. So this is to even the surface as much as we can before we apply our design layer. So we are now pouring the self-leveling compound directly onto the counter surface. So after which we'll be using a roller to even out. Once the self-leveling compound on the main counter has been spread, you may want to come back to the skirting and do a rollover to cover the skirting as much as you can. Should there be any bubbles form on the surface of the self-leveling compound, use a 91% or higher isopropyl alcohol to gently mist the surface. So right now we're going to commence on the most exciting layer, whereby the designs come to life. So for our base, we'll be using our silver and pearl white pigments, and for our highlights, we'll be using our liquid diamond pigments. And as you can see, we have left the angle bar as it is from the previous self-leveling layer. So this is actually to prevent the epoxy from flowing over and damaging the carpentry or the floors. Right? However, if you do not actually have the angle bar initially, you might want to consider using tapes and plastic protection to cover up the entire cabinets and the surrounding floors. So before we start onto the metallic epoxy design layer, always remember to sand down the previous surface if there are any bumps or foreign particles on it. After which, pour in the highlights at your discretion to achieve the desired art look. You may employ the use of rollers or paint brushes to blend the highlights into the base. After the final touches are done, remember to use 91% or higher isopropyl alcohol to disperse any bubble formation. So we have already removed the angle bar at the edges of the counter. So once you remove the angle bar, you're going to realize that there's going to be a lot of unevenness at the edges as well as the back skirting of the counter due to the wood substrate. So what we have done is that we have taken the liberty to actually apply and fill up all the unevenness of the areas using putty fillers, and we have already sanded down to achieve a flat surface. There are no calculation to how much metallic pigments to add to the primer layer. As long as you mix enough to match the color of the top, you are good to go. Do ensure to place tapes around the areas whereby you are applying the primer. So once the primer layer is fully dry, you should be ready to apply the next layer, which is our top protective coating. And today we'll be applying a gloss protective coating onto the counters. So we are finally done with all the layers for our metallic epoxy system. So as you can see, no matter how bad your countertop used to look like, once our metallic epoxy has been applied onto it, it will turn out to be extremely beautiful. So if you may have any questions with regards to our metallic epoxy system, purchasing of products or installations, feel free to contact us through our website. So we'll be looking forward to having all of you guys in our MESG community.